Hello, everybody, and welcome to Theorycraft Thursday. We, of course, are the first episode of Theorycraft Thursday under Fourth Spirit as a label. We today are sponsored by Unicorn, that is UNIKRN. We'll hear more about them later on in the show, of course, and let's just get right into it, shall we, Proud? This is our first episode of 7.07.
Shall we?
Yeah, shall we? Indeed. It's something to embark on.
Shall we?
So... Today's episode, rather than doing a game and whatnot, once we've explored Heroes more, I think we're going to obviously go back to our regular stuff. But being that we just put out a 7-hour-long episode, and most people are probably still working their way through that, we're just going to talk about our overview, because we've been playing the patch, let's see, as of recording, I think I've played like 10 games of it, maybe?
Yeah,
10?
About the same here.
Somewhere around there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then... Yeah, it's like 10 or 11. I forget how many I played on test client. But, so we've had a good bit of experience, though, so far with the patch. Have you looked at, I mean, obviously, you know, we've been on social media and stuff, but have you looked into any of the other patch reviews or any, like, big Reddit threads?
No, there's actually really no one who understands Dota more comprehensively and completely than I do, so I don't really see a lot of worth in looking at anyone else's opinions.
Perfect.
Present company excluded, of course.
Of course. Yeah, I usually try to, with every big patch, I usually try to listen to at least one other thorough review, but this time around, I don't think I saw any from pro players. And maybe it's just due to scheduling and whatnot, but normally I like to listen to like some really high MMR casters like Blitz. I mean, Blitz is like a coach and all that. But I don't think Blitz put up a review. So yeah, all I did was I listened to Merlini put up his like 20-minute wrap up. But yeah, so far I haven't done too much outside of my own, you know, .p Fourth Spirit inner circle talking, or not inner circle, but community discussion on the patch.
I mean, I talked to Scrunk and Vafa some, and
yeah, I haven't talked to Scrunk
those
yet.
kind of people.
All right. Anyway,
I did.
All right. I'm glad that one of us did. Okay. So before we get into specific topics, what have your games so far, just in like an overall 7.07, felt like? Been like, you know, first impressions? It's not a huge sample size, but it's a good amount.
Roamer's way de-emphasized. There's like a lot less of a line between what a 4 and what a 5 is now. Mm-hmm. Kind of back to how it was, you know, back 2 years ago, more or less. And tri-laning is good. You want to make sure your carry gets farm and their offlaner doesn't.
Yeah.
Make sure you do that now. That's a thing. You don't just leave your carry to 1v1 at fucking Death Prophet. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
I agree with you on that one, that's for sure. That's been one of my big takeaways, too. I've played, let's see, out of all the games I played, I'd say like 75% of them have been tri-lanes, and then maybe 25 have had duo lanes. And duo lanes or roamers, I think I've only played like one game with a dedicated roamer, and it was very lackluster, like you said.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
It's going to take, I feel like, you know, we talk a lot just in general as a theme of Dota about like the trickle down of metagame where pro players and high tier pubs, they start doing something like, let's say, smoking and rotating at like 6 minutes. And then like gradually over the course of, you know, sometimes it's a few months, sometimes it's like a couple of years, that comes down, and then like 5K players and 4K players and 3K players eventually start doing it. Yeah. And I think there's going to be something similar, maybe not MMR wise, but something similar in the trickle down of what is the proper way to lane, you know, in the more orthodox, like 3-1-1 or 2-1-2, whatever. Once that gets figured out, give it like a couple weeks, and then that'll get more figured out. So far, I've definitely had way more success tri-laning and dedicating a lot of resources to zoning off laners, and then pulling heavily. And even when I wasn't pulling, I still felt like lane was pretty fine as a support.
Yeah, the two bounty runes are like right next to you. Yeah. So, I mean, a really long time ago, we were talking about like what informs you as to how many heroes you should put in a lane is how many little like nodes of interest there are. And now that the bounty runes are so close and there's those two pull camps and you want to pull the easy camp instead of the hard camp, because when creeps die to neutrals, it's as though they just died like normally. Yeah. So it's not like they give zero experience. So if the offlaner is just sitting next to the wave that gets killed by neutrals, like, congrats, they just got 100% of the experience for the wave.
Yeah.
So like you want to be pulling the camp that's like further in, and then you also want to get both bounty runes, and your support probably can't 1v1 the enemy offlaner, so you kind of like want another support in there to kind of help them out. So like you really want both supports at all times to be covering the covering the 3 or 4 points of interest in the lane in addition to zoning. And then each creep is worth, between like 50 and 60 gold now, as opposed to the like 35 of a week ago. So the carry can't just be like also zoning the whole time, because like, if you spend 20 seconds zoning, you just cost yourself easily 200 gold. That's not a good exchange rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the bounty runes have led to a very interesting kind of flow.
I think the pregame.
Yeah.
The pregame is like unreal now, honestly. I'm just like, sometimes every rune gets stolen and my mid doesn't get their blocks. Sometimes my support blocks for my mid and everyone gets their runes.
Yeah, in 2 different games I was playing. One of them was a Slaughter game that we played in a stack, and then one of them was a CM game that I played. And in both games, I was just constantly getting both runes for my safe lane rune and my off lane and the enemy off lane rune every single time for like clockwork. It was incredibly, man, I can't say clockwork because it makes people think.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I was really trying to like muscle my way through not making a pun.
Yeah, but yeah, I could very easily. I mean, especially Slaughter with Sprint, I could very easily, unless the enemy offlaner pre-planned it. If they hesitated even a little bit, even on CM, who's super slow, pre-boots, I was still getting both bounties every single time it hit 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. And it was huge. It made life a lot easier. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. And because people are still adjusting to the new runes. Like, I just played a mid game. I played a mid Storm Spear because he's been a trending hero. And also, he was the daily, or one of the randomized heroes that gets a free mango.
Yeah, it's not daily. I don't know why they said it was daily. It's just random.
Man, all those Reddit threads, you get people, I don't know if you've read those horrendous Reddit threads about mangoes, and we're going to go specifically into mangoes later, but so many of the people are like, it's ridiculous that it's daily, and then all the people that have actually played the patch are like, actually, it's not daily, it's every game, so calm down, and then they're like, well, it's still unfair, I still don't like it, and it's just funny how they get caught.
That's a legitimate grievance. It's pretty stupid.
We'll get into it later, but before we get sidetracked completely by that, thinking specifically about my experience in my game so far in 10.07, building off of what you talked about lane and how pulling works, getting your camp blocked is catastrophic. It's like a reversion to like how it used to be like a couple years ago, really. That's how laning in general has felt. All the map changes are basically just incentivizing you to play like you used to play, right? The offlane pool is going back to what it used to be a couple years ago, where you have safer offlaners or offlaners that can jungle, compared to these super aggressive offlaners that we've had recently and very greedy offlaners. So in one game, for instance, I didn't bring a sentry to lane because I'm still getting used to all the new money costs as a 5. I didn't bring a sentry to lane. The enemy was running some ridiculous offlane, like I think it was an offlane Skywrath Ricky, and they blocked my camp, my small camp, and I couldn't pull the hard camp because they were aggroing, and I was not able to deward the small camp until like minute 4, and then by then it was already about to disappear. So my lane was just ruined. Like, they got so much out of this lane just because I didn't think to bring a sentry out and deward, and they thought to block the camp. Like, so blocking camps as offlane is back. Recently, people have moved to just like, I just want a ward for vision, and I don't want it to get dewarded. It's like, I just put it, wherever, and it makes me safe. But now it's going to go back to, in my opinion at least, it's going to go back to blocking camps so that you have more lane strength, and it discombobulates the safe lane. That really sucks.
It used to be, you block it and then they realize it at like 50 seconds, then they deward it. And then, okay, so you saved like, they can still pull by minute 2, but now if you block it, they can't pull until minute 3. They notice at minute 1, then then they need to kill it, then the camp will spawn at 2, and then the stack is at 3, but the creeps move a little too fast, so you can't stack and pull the hard camp at the same time. So like, you're gonna get however many waves that is, like 3 or 4, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10.
Yeah,
waves.
it's a lot. And also the other big thing is that with all and I have not done like not the math, but I guess the cartography on this, they changed the spawn boxes so you can block camps in different ways since, there's terrain changes and all that. So
Sure.
It's going to mess with the ability to deward things and the ability to block things just in how the like ward metagame is. Like in the safe lane Radiant, their small camp used to be you could deward basically the entire box with one good sentry placement. But now no matter where you place the sentry, you're missing like a few hundred units worth of space. So it's going to be interesting to see once, especially in pro players, once they refine it, what people's blocking placement is. And if it goes back to like, you remember, I think it was Dire Safe Lane, you used to have to get 2 sentries just to deward your small camp because there were so many spots they could do, and it was just absurd. I am
like
scared
each
of
corner
that.
was a valid spot to place your ward.
God, yeah, I'm really scared of that. Like, it's a fun dynamic. I think it has a lot of like cool strategy to blocking camps and all that, but it is very intimidating as especially sorry.
This period of time when stuff was like this is, one of my favorite periods in Dota, but it's also reopening a lot of old wounds because like I'm playing a carry and I'm like, I am reliant on supports again to have a good lane.
Yeah, I can't poor man's shield trade anymore.
I mean, like, I'm glad it's there, but I'm just like, it's like my fucking 4 is a bad hero and they just want to roam top and I can't, and that means I lose the game. Like I can't make that okay. I can't just be Bloodseeker and win my lane by default. I'm sitting there as a Spectre and I'm like, hey guys, I need help. And they're like, I think we're going to try lane mid. It's like, the game got patched, my friends. Like, that's no longer the case. And now I'm just at the whims of these humans.
I feel you there. It feels like a bunch of, rusty tools that I haven't used and I need to get back into it. Or like somebody that hasn't drawn in a long time.
Yeah,
and
but
they're
they're
like,
like
oh man, I have to draw something. And
it's like a tandem bike. So like I'm trying to run a tandem bike by myself, and the other people are like on a unicycle that has like a time bomb on it. Because you're always just gonna die in 30 seconds if you're using a
and somebody's trying to throw trying to jam sticks into the spokes periodically.
I was gonna say throw javelins at my head because that's a bit more the way it works out.
I was thinking more about the bike rather than the people
my mind is just on bodily harm kind of at all times.
That's fair. I mean, if you think about Huskar, that's a dangerous state of mind. I fortunately have not seen Huskar yet this patch. I have. It's funny. My other impression from my games is that all these heroes that I was very happy to not be seeing are now rearing their ugly heads again. Like Storm Spirit has a rising pick rate and a rising success rate. Broodmother with the rework, I saw a bunch of broods, whereas I normally don't see that much brood. Yeah, although to be fair, a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot of people, but in my experience so far, people were picking brood that were very clearly not brood players and just being terrible. So that makes life pretty easy too. And like techies, I've seen techies in like almost half my games because people want to play around with the new techies. And that's scary. I don't want that. Please stop. Please.
I did lose to a techies, and that was a little.
I forget if I beat the techies that I played against. I've seen a few of them, but yeah, it's been not fun to play against. Oh yeah, I beat one when I played Terrorblade. I had a really good Terrorblade game where I just rushed a butterfly. That's a lie, actually. It was my 3rd item, but I got it fast. Anyway, let's get into some more specific stuff, I suppose, before we get over tangentialized. So. Let's just talk about the 2 new heroes, because that's the big talking point of the patch so far. So we have, let's see, the one that I always forget the name of, Pangaloid,
Pangolang,
Pangolier, Pangolang, Pangaboy, Pangobble, something like that. He's a Pangolin, but his name is not Pangolin.
It's Pangolang.
Yeah. Pangolang. I like it. I'm fine. It's going to be one of those things that like you just say the first syllable and that's enough. Like I pang and then whatever you want, and people know what you're talking about. So
Pago-mago.
Yeah. The other hero, of course, is Dark Willow. And so far on Dota Buff, obviously, this is, first day of release. But on Dota Buff, I think the stat was that Pangolier had like a 38% win rate in his first day of release.
It's 37% right now.
Nice. And
you know who's actually still, that's the second lowest. You know who's the lowest?
Wisp.
Nah, it's a little closer to my heart.
Lone Druid?
Yes.
Is that true? I'm actually really surprised.
36.99%. His win rate went down 1.24%. Didn't have a lot to fall, but hey, we made it happen.
It's good to set
He
reasonable
fucking
goals.
sucks, dude.
Well, I suppose
They took my 50 damage off.
if you're going to be
Okay, not to tangent, but literally, like, I went to my item build and I'm like, all right, what items give me plus damage? Okay, Deso's gone. MKB doesn't give damage anymore. I'm not a I still don't like Radiance. And Nullifier. There's literally one damage item in the game. Because Basher doesn't even have fucking damage on it anymore. That's literally the only fucking damage item in the game is Nullifier, which is like, I might as well get a Radiance anyways, because it's a fucking relic item.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose if you're going to be one of the lowest win rate heroes in Dota, it's better to be the lowest rather than just like, oh, I'm second lowest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other hero, of course, is Dark Willow. And from the sounds of it, Dark Willow is fairly OP and Pangolier is fairly underpowered.
I ban Dark Willow every game.
She's real good. Let's talk about Pangolier first before we, separate our mindset. So you've played a bunch of Pangolier games.
I played a decent amount.
I have played with him, but I've not played the hero myself. I've actually not played either of these heroes, but I usually don't play new heroes for quite a while after they come out, just as a general rule of thumb. So playing Pangolier, how does he feel compared to how it feels to play against or with him?
So
is he fun? That's the first and most important question.
He's definitely fun. I just like people. Apparently, he's an offlaner. Like that's the common consensus at this point is that he is an offlaner. Which I figured that he was going to be a mid, but he just kind of doesn't do enough to be a mid, I guess.
Yeah.
And the only actually strong part about him is his W. That basically, like when you get it on a few heroes, it turns you into Bristleback, which is a pretty good thing to be.
He's real hard to kill. Like I played against one as an offlaner. I played Bane and I had a Jug in my lane, and it was real hard to kill Pangolier. Like he's I don't want to say he's strong as an offlaner, but he's good in lane.
Got a little escape.
Yeah.
Got a little escape, and he's got a damage resistance thing, and then he's got a little bit of scaly minus armor kind of business, which is nice.
So what have you've been playing him as a mid though, or have you tried offlane?
Yeah, I haven't tried the offlane yet because I only really played him yesterday. Today I was trying other stuff in ranked.
Yeah.
But like I like him as a mid. It's just he's really bad when you get double killed because you aggress when you should not have aggressed, which was our one game playing it. But like his ability to harass out is really similar to to how Ember Spirit was when he first came out. Like you just spam your Q. Like I got a Viper to like use his salve at like minute 2 or whatever, and then he had to like go back to base, and then we killed ourselves on him. But before then, I was like, okay, I'm gonna win this lane against a Viper as a fucking Pangolier. This is dope.
Yeah.
Did well against a Tinker too, but yeah, like obviously if you don't do really well in lane, you just kind of fall down. Honestly, I can't say with any certainty how this. Like what you do on this, like fancy boy. But I know that item-wise, Maelstrom is very cool and good. I would highly recommend getting Maelstrom. It can proc like 3 times more or less with your Q. That's like all kind of up to chance, but like the highest you'll get is 3 in most cases, and on average you get it like 2. And it makes your farm like wild fast, makes you do a bunch of damage, and then you get your refusal afterwards or something like that, somewhere in between these things. But that's like the only damage items you're ever going to go for are Maelstrom and the Defusal. Defusal makes your Q burn 200 mana and do another 160 damage. And the Maelstrom makes it do a shit ton of magic damage, which is great. And like Blink Dagger is great on him. Vafa's like convinced you go Vanguard and Arcane Boots, which I'm not too sure about. But a lot of people do like the Vanguard. So
I was going to say, Vanguard is his 5th most picked up item. I
definitely
don't
it's
see
in his recommended
boots
items.
Oh, is
right?
it?
So I don't know what to say about that.
What about Basher? And I think I've been seeing Basher on him. It procs just like Maelstrom, right? So
decent. But it has the same cooldown, right? So you can only bash one target and you hit like 30. So if you like do a wave of creeps in a person, then like, okay.
Yeah,
like,
you just throw in caution to the wind.
Yeah, it's just like not... It's good to get. It's just like I would much rather get the Diffusal or Maelstrom because this is actually synergized instead of just, like, well, maybe I bash someone. Who knows?
Yeah, it seems like So far playing it against it, I have been underwhelmed with the actual damage that he puts out. And I don't know, like I see potential in this hero, definitely. And I'm kind of excited that he's not just like blatantly like, oh man, this is OP. And his toolkit is very interesting to see, to play, to work around. It is just, he's one of those heroes that just feels awkward, like numbers wise, right? He puts out damage and stuns, but he doesn't put it out in consequential enough amounts to become a damage dealer or a stunning disabler, right? And that's kind of my mindset.
He's not entirely defined. Like when I was talking with Vafa about it, I was like, this hero, I don't think it's an offlaner because it doesn't do offlane things.
Yeah.
Like if I like what is he like when I draft? He's like, and the office is like, it's okay if you have stuns in your other lanes, but I'm like, you need a lot of stuns if your offlaner doesn't have any sort of disable at all. Like he's got his ulti.
Yeah, you ult and you blink in. And also I saw Slasher. Slasher's pointing out that you can ult and then hit somebody with your ult and then blink backwards and hit them again immediately.
Do you not have to turn for that?
No, because you blink, like there's no like animation for the blink, so you can blink through you can go through them, blink backwards.
Okay, so maybe it just doesn't matter which way you're facing when you're doing that. That would be nice.
I mean, maybe it has some kind of weird interaction with how his ult places the hero model. Like, even though obviously you have that slow turn rate, maybe the internal turn rate for items and stuff is different. I don't know, but I saw him do it in a practice game.
I mean, I'll try it right now.
Unless it was patched out or
press R. Yup, you can do that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. But still, that's not like, I'd rather have a centaur. Like.
That for sure.
He just feels awkward, like I said. How have you felt with his damage output, would you say? Because it's like enough that it's something, but it's not enough that's he's a carry.
It's like if you hit your tempo and get a pretty fast maelstrom and diffusal, it's very good. But beyond that, like, I don't know. Like, if you're not on the cutting edge of like winning team fights, you just fall so fucking flat. Kind of like magic damage Ember, only you don't have like 17 other skills and disable to fall back on. Like if your Ember Spirit gets like, shut down and you don't have like level 2 ulti until 20 minutes, like, you're not going to do anything the whole game. And same thing with Pangolier. Only instead of having like spamming, slight into chains to like get you through and a bunch of mobility, you just like hope that you get tanky. But if you're rushing into these damage items, you're not going to get your tankiness. So it's like, if you want to do damage, you kind of fuck over every other aspect of your hero unless you're doing very well. And if you're doing very well, you might be better off just being tanky anyways.
Makes sense to me.
I don't know, man. He's a weird boy.
Yeah, I really, like I said, I mean, I haven't played it yet, so I'll have to play it, just feel it out. But it's interesting, and I think interesting is good, right? It would be stupid if it was boring. Like, even if he's not a good hero right now, as long as he's interesting, that means he has the potential to be both good and interesting. Compared to a hero like, if he's just good, but he's boring, whatever, who cares? Yeah,
I mean, I'll always like reinvoke when Ember Spirit first came out and first got into Captain's mode, he was like almost universally declared just not a great hero, kind of shitty, extremely situational, until Miracle, aka the person who kind of like opened up the good way to play Naga Siren, kind of like figured him out pretty well. And then the entire pro scene was people just, SCA, Miracle, not Miracle. Then like everyone was like, actually you can just skill Slight Up and just use it on cooldown and kill everyone, and you just win mid for free. And then like the hero was dumb broken for the next 6 months, and like despite the nerfs, he was still crazy good. So maybe, who knows, but probably not. I think he's bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm definitely in the camp that he sucks. All right. Let's talk about the other hero for a bit. Dark Willow, who, as much as we say Pangolier sucks, people definitely are not saying that about Dark Willow.
She's very good.
There are varying degrees of OP that people call her, but everybody agrees that she's good. That's for sure.
I can't think of a better support.
Yeah, in the current...
No, there's not one.
She's real good. I definitely won't argue with that. I can't think of a hero that's obviously... I mean, I would say Bane, personally.
I don't even know about that, man.
I don't know about that either, but I think Bane is comparable.
For the laning, but I'm still like not entirely impressed with Bane outside of the laning phase.
Sure. Regardless, I think that's a fair statement. I think she is easily in the top few, if not the best support at the moment. So people have also been playing her as a core. Some people are saying that she gets played in the off lane occasionally. I've seen her mostly as a mid. In my experience, or rather, I've seen her mostly as a support. But when she's not a support, I see her as a mid. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't realize she had a 200 attack speed talent at 25. So what is your impression of this hero so far in terms of?
I played her once. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I got to zone people for free with Shadow Realm. I just kind of threw my Bramble Maze up wherever the fuck I wanted, and it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I saw someone, I decided to curse their crowns, and then they would just kind of stun their team for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I bought a Yule's, and I would like walk into the middle of a fight, activate Bedlam, jump up in the sky, and then as soon as I fall down, I terrorize. And then like, okay, team fight's won.
Man, you could cast Cursed Crown, which is her stun on somebody, Yules them, and then when they come down, they are going to stun like within a second, similar to how AA's thing goes when AA gets Yules. That's pretty cool. I'd never thought about that.
Yeah, the Yules is definitely good with her. I mean, even just because, I mean, I was fumbly as fuck playing her. Like, I mean, sure you can imagine, especially with the like Shadow Realm thing. Like, I have no sense of how long this thing is going to last or whatever. I'm just like 3 seconds. I just kind of like wait till the duration of the little buff icon because you have to like look a screen away. So I'm not like looking at my hero and seeing the counter where I am. I'm just like, I'm looking at my buff. I'm like, buff's about half. I think I throw it now. But yeah, I mean, she's good. I played a game with her as a mid. Like a teammate had her, and they stomped. And I was like, "Oh, I heard that she's actually not a good mid." And they were like, "Well, we'll see." And they just like did absurdly well. I was like, "All right, I guess it's good." So I don't know. Like the 1.3 base attack time makes her midding like very simple. Like I mean, as we said, creeps give way more gold now. Obviously, with mid, you know, they had an additional creep, so it's not as big a change. But like having a good attack animation. It's really good.
It makes life
very
easy.
Nice.
And projectile speed on top of that. Like she gets super fast projectile speed.
Yeah, and just like as you know, like last hitting as a support. I mean, I normally play core. So like once I'm at 20 minutes and I'm getting a last hit as a support, I just assume it's gonna be like easy as hell. And then like, oh, I still have to try like it's minute one on a Spectre. Yeah. Fuck. But she was just I was like, oh, okay, I'm basically just like playing Morphling at 30 minutes last hitting with this 1.3 base attack time.
Yeah.
Great. She's very comfy.
I'm super into it. She again has a really cool kit. I think, in my opinion, the problem with her at the moment in terms of balance and why I think she needs a little tuning down is that Bramble Maze is a absolutely disgustingly good ability, and it scales well in terms of the points that you put into it, and on top of that, it's still good at level 1. So I think it either needs to do less of a root or more or less damage. But the fact that right now it has a 2 at max level, it has a 2.5 second root per bramble you hit, which a lot of times people hit at least 2. I played against one and I had a teammate that in the course of a team fight walked into I think 3 brambles, and I was like, yeah,
that's like a finger of death. Like you just
it's 250 latch damage per time you hit one of these things, and
a little bristly bush.
It's just a jack of all trades ability, except instead of being like jack of all trades, master of none, it's jack of all trades and master of all of them. Still,
yeah, I would just compare this to Pit of Malice, which is like a good skill, but like holy shit, man! Like Pit of Malice reads you for what, like 0.6 seconds, and then if you stick in it, it'll get you again for 0 damage. Yeah, and then Bramble is just like, what if this was every good skill put in one?
Yeah, and it's like, bigger.
All right, I guess it could be, and it's huge.
Yeah, it is big. Even larger than the thing that you use to put it out, like the big circle,
the little reticle. Yeah.
The big reticle. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. Like this hero feels like the classic case of they feel OP because they do a whole lot of things and they do all of them well.
I mean, just look at the amount of crowd control she has. Like most supports, like you look at Lion, you're like, holy shit, he's got a stun and a hex. Wild. Whereas Dark Willow is like, oh yeah, you have a 2.5 second root that can happen multiple times, a 3.5 second AoE stun. Also, you have a 4 second AoE fear. That's 3 controls that last over, 2.5 seconds or over. That's
Yep.
a lot of them. And they're all AoE. Who has AoE? Who has 3 AoE disables? Earthshaker? He has to die to get those off.
Yeah.
He will die for your sins. This fucking Dark Willow? Nothing. She just causes what she says shenanigans. She's just a ball of fucking shenanigans.
Yeah, and her cooldowns are not even that restrictive, right? Bramble Maze at max level is a 25-second cooldown, so that's like presumably 2 in a fight. And then Curse Crown, 12-second cooldown. Well, yeah.
Yeah, Curse Crown it's like every 2 seconds. It's coming up.
Yeah, it is a bit much. She also synergizes real well, especially as a core or as a support with the new intelligence Sage and Yasha equivalent, Kaya.
You think so?
Yeah, it's definitely when she's played as a core, I've seen it on her when I've been watching streams, and I also have seen it on support on her as a support. Just because it's nice because she has really high spell costs. Right, let's see. Curse Crown is 160 mana at max. Shadow Realm is 100, and Bramble Mage is 170. And you want to use each one multiple times. And both her ults are, I think, like 150 mana ish each. So you're
200
saving
and 150 at max.
Yeah, exactly. So you're saving a good deal of mana through the mana reduction thing over the course of a fight. And Spell Amp, like that's an extra 25 damage on every single Bramble you hit, and it's
a bit
just
more than that, but yeah, isn't it 15? Yeah. Oh no, it's 10. It's 10.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to see how she's been shaking out. I
tried the Meteor Hammer on her, and the game ended before I remembered to use it.
I saw it in one of my games, and it was really effective. I'm kind of lukewarm on Meteor Hammer, just in general. It seems really OP at face value, and then in practice, I'm like, man, 3.5 seconds is a really long time. So
yeah, like it requires such like a set of Power Ranger poses to like actually happen that I'm like, I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna go somewhere else or kill you.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Like I need a BKB to get it off, honestly.
One of the other advantages of Dark Willow that I think is a really key aspect is that she combos really well with a lot of heroes. Pangolier, conversely,
she does everything.
Well, yeah. Pangolier doesn't have a lot of obvious combos in my experience. Seeing
Ancient Apparition.
Ancient Apparition.
Yeah, you Q and it hits 4 times.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that.
I don't actually know if that works, but it better.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the very least, you hit 1 from range. Unless, like, it uses all your charges, and so, like, if you did it to a creep wave, it might hit it on the hero. I don't know how that works.
Oh, like, all 4 of them on one...
accidentally.
Yeah, all 4 of them get used on one. Yeah, that would be very bad.
Yeah, but Dark Willow's AoE control and her AoE forcing of things to happen has a lot of cool synergy with heroes that either work well in that Havoc situation, like if you have a PA on your team and she's jumping in, the enemy team, if they're trying to run and engage on the PA, they might run to Bramble, or she can jump and fear people, and the fear keeps people grouped. So if you have heroes with a cleave, it works well. Or if you have other AoE things, just a lot of clear synergy with heroes. That's a really big asset. Whether she's played as a core or support, it's nice to just know, if she fears them, they're all going to group up, so I can blink and RP them, or I can blink Black Hole, or I can, do whatever AoE abilities. So that's been one of the biggest things I've seen with her, is just AoE control is so incredibly strong, especially in uncoordinated pubs. So yeah, I'm very interested in the hero. Again, I haven't played it, but I've played with it. I think she's been in literally every game she's not been banned in.
Yeah. For context, the AA thing does work. I just tried it out, but the chilling touch damage at level 1 is only 30, remember? So it's not quite as good.
Yeah, but still, it's 120 damage, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, and also, like, it kind of wastes the slow since it doesn't stack additively. It's just, yeah. So that's interesting.
Okay, no, it does. It does. Because it's only 3 instances on the first point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it made my Q do a total of 160 damage at level 1, which is, after armor and magic reduction, not too bad.
That's a nice chunk of damage. Anything else on Dark Willow? I think next week we'll probably be playing at least one of these new heroes.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a more complete data set. Yeah, but I think she's good.
Want to play she's good, dude. She's wild good. Ban this hero or play it. That's my advice. Get a Yules.
I agree, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking like people are building Kaya, Blink, and Yules, and Treads are kind of everything.
Good.
She's apparently Spirit Vessel's getting picked up on her a bit. That's the urn improvement, like the double super urn. The super urn is so good.
I got that on her. I got the urn on her. I didn't get the super because I was losing.
I got it in 2 of my Bane games, and it feels so good. It's an awesome item. I love Spirit Vessel.
What about it is so great, buddy?
It's just
health. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's 250 health, and it gives you movement speed. So it lets you, unless you build a Yules, a lot of times you just have a Windlace going nowhere, and you'll have an urn also going nowhere. It has a 61% win rate right now.
I mean it's an expensive item.
Yeah.
For supports, anyways.
It's just a lot of good stats, right? It's not pigeonholing you into building one kind of stats. It's giving you a bunch of things, which is a nice asset for supports that a lot of times need a bunch of things. And the build-up's not that bad. Like I said, I mean, a lot of times you're going to have an urn and you're going to have a Windlace. And then like a vitality booster, you get one good push or one good team fight, and then that's a reasonable amount of money to accrue. I've liked it a lot.
That's fair. I mean, it looks better the more I think about it, especially with the way that regen has been revamped. Like, I'm playing games on Dragonite where I have 40 HP regen. So if you use this on me, like, not only is it doing damage, but it's 8 seconds of 70% reduction. Like, I don't know, it's almost like another 240 damage you add on the damage it does. It's like 8 seconds of knocking some of my regen off.
And it has a nice counterplay, right? Like I played a game against a Timbersaw, and we had a Spirit Vessel on our Nyx, and Nyx would just use the Spirit Vessel active on the Timbersaw, and all that regen he had from reactive armor was getting negated, or not negated, but getting lowered by 70%. Same thing, like, I haven't seen it yet, but it seems like a really cool counterplay to Morphling or to Huskar. I don't know how Morphling would work since he's like adding stats versus regenning. But at the very least, it would be cool against Huskar or like a Nyx. I don't think it works against Lifesteal. Alchemist, that's a really good one.
I mean, that's the main thing.
That's the main one. Yeah. That's a good point. I've actually not seen any Alchemist in my games, though I've seen a lot of him on like streams and stuff. He seems cool. Yeah. I'm excited to play him. Anything else on Dark Willow?
No, I think we kind of hit all the points.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about some other heroes that got changed.
Is there anything to like? Are people like building right click on her at all once you hit like end game as a mid? Do you have any knowledge of that?
I don't. All the games I've seen with her, she's built a bunch of like utility fighting stuff, but then the games have been over by like 30 to 40 minutes, and I've not seen any like. Sense. I could see like late game Bloodthorn maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say like because the 200 attack speed talent is just better than 1 terrorize duration if you can take advantage of it. Like terrorize is good, don't get me wrong, but I mean a 4-second AoE fear. Yeah, like it's if you get it off, another second isn't really going to be quite as crazy as if you can take advantage of 4 hyperstones or whatever. But yeah, you throw Bloodthorn in that, and I'm sure you're having a good time.
Yeah, or like a Mjolnir and just go for procs. You can just be constantly throwing out procs. I saw Arteezy build a Veil on her, which seemed really interesting. Yeah. Although it has some kind of awkward synergy because it's not like her magic damage is so sporadic that it's hard to like you can't farm with it like you could on like a Death Prophet, for instance. So that was a little, whatever.
Her farming is a little weird because you don't want to use Bramble Mace to farm.
Yeah, maybe you get like
it's not good.
I mean, you just farm heroes just by constantly fighting.
Yeah, no, just kill many humans. Let your carry kill the 70 gold creeps. Or I mean, it's you're killing lane creeps, not jungle camps. Jungle camps fucking suck. So just like sit in lane and get last hits. Like you don't need a Maelstrom to get last hits.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking like maybe just buy a Maelstrom and you just have a casual Maelstrom.
Thinking that I had to nip that shit in the bud. My God, we are not recommending Maelstrom Dark Willow.
Yeah, the only weakness I've seen with her that really stood out so far was playing her, and she relies super heavily on Bramble. You're playing her, and the enemy team has a Broodmother or anybody with illusions or anybody with ads like a Beastmaster. They will all pop Bramble. So your Bramble can completely go to waste if the enemy team just like has a PL or like a Terrorblade that just sends out his illusions to clear things. Yeah, so that was a really big weakness.
I ended up being like a Chaos Knight against her, and I was like, oh no, I need all my illusions. I can't just throw this shit. Just be like, here, take him out. Doesn't matter. I'll sacrifice my illusions for a support's Q. Not really worth it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm excited to see where she goes and what they change about her, if anything. Maybe they'll just tune down some numbers. I think that's more realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, when they kind of retooled Underlord, they just took all the damage off his W, so maybe that's what we'll see for Brambles.
Yeah.
Get it out of here.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about other heroes so far. So
have you seen the Shadow Fiend shit?
The like magic damage Shadow Fiend?
Yeah, dude, like Veil Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, I saw I forget.
Seems good.
What stream I was watching. They did like the old thing with Yules, but they also just did Blink. And
yeah, I don't think Yules is the play.
I mean, like the Yules
like the Veil.
Yeah, I like the Veil.
I mean, you only have so many slots, and you get a lot of farms. Like you're gonna get a BKB at some point. I saw Shadow Fiend that had it was like BKB or like Veil, Blink. I think probably a Shadow Blade or something like that, and then like BKB, Ags, and E-Blade, and it was just like best of both worlds. Like each of those items does a decent amount for your right click and also helps you spellcast pretty well, or just like makes you tanky enough.
Yeah,
and it was like, it was a pretty early timestamp, and there's just like a lot of magic damage, and he was still right clicking for like 700, like a Shadow Fiend does on average.
Yeah, and he's
good, man.
And he has really strong farming. And I mean, like whenever you see a 10% spell damage talent, you're like, all right, this hero is good now. Like it's at level 10, you get 10% spell damage. Like that's amazing, just point blank. That's why Ember was so OP. He had 15. Like
he had 20.
Well, was it 20 initially? I thought it was 15, and then they took it down to 12.
It started at 20. They took it down to 15, and then it was still too much. And I was like, they're going to make it 12, and then they're going to take it lower afterwards, but they're going to try 12 first.
Huh.
I have perfect recollection of my ability to predict Ice Farg.
I'm glad. I've not seen that in any games, but like I said, I mean, I saw it on a stream or two. It's interesting. Yeah. Shadow Fiend's been dead for a while in terms of just hero. He also benefits tremendously from mid going back to how it used to be and being more of a 1v1 thing. Because Shadow Fiend does not deal well with rotations or getting babysat against. So he benefits tremendously from this metagame. I was going to say devolving, but going back to how it used to be back when he was more of a strong mid laner.
Especially with like the huge deny buff, because I mean, if Shadow Fiend has a remotely decent start, once you hit level 5, you're either just like raising down every wave so it doesn't affect you, or you have a damage advantage and you just deny every creep. Yeah. Like once Shadow Fiend's got 20 souls in it, I'm like, no one's going to be able to deal with you gaining another 40 damage like at level, in the laning phase. Like that's just not. No one has that much damage. Like by phase boots, I don't give a shit. That's not even close.
Yeah, absolutely. The other standout hero I think that everybody's kind of been talking about is Bane, and I've played like 5 Bane games so far. I mean, I'm thrilled with Bane. The biggest thing though, like people are freaking out over the enfeeble stuff. More importantly than that, having 0.1 less on all of his cast points is honestly a bigger buff than anything that they've changed about his talents.
For sure.
It feels so much better. It is actually absurd how, like, it just feels much more fluid and you don't feel like I mean, there's still long cast points to be fair, but they feel great compared to how they used to feel. I've kind of been arguing with people or just... I'm still lukewarm on the idea of like a core Bane that builds like Mask of Madness and stuff. But
no, that sucks.
Yeah, I feel like this is a case of a hero being misinterpreted by people that do not play the hero because of changes, if that makes sense. Like
I think it's like that for sure, but also just like kind of a misunderstanding of what makes a hero a carry. Like it just so happens that most carries, like part of what makes them a carry is that they have scaling through right click, but the bigger part is that there's like a guaranteed to deliver that that like ability to go through right click. Like Juggernaut Omni Slash, Sven only needs a half second to blink stun, get a bunch of cleaves out. Chaos Knight can like catch you and he just doubles you once and kills you in one shot. Bane needs to nightmare you and then not have that interrupted and you can't be BKB'd, and then he needs to sit in a stationary position after enfeebling you, and then he'll right click you for 8 seconds straight, and then hopefully you have taken enough damage to be in kill range for a fiend script that also needs to not be interrupted. That's way different than Juggernaut blinks and presses R and then lets it happen.
Exactly. So that being said, I think he's being overrated as a core, but I think he has a lot of potential as a offlaner against weak safe lanes or in offlane duo lanes if you play it aggressively. And more importantly, though, I think he's still a support. And the pool of supports for 4 and 5 is intermingles a bit more compared to when in the last few months where we've had the heavy roaming meta and you had to have a 4 that could roam. Bane has some roaming potential, to be fair, but he's not really a roamer, and you can pick him in either the 4 or 5 position nowadays that you don't have to have a like 4 Kunkka or a 4 Slaughter or a 4 Spirit Breaker.
Yeah. Nowadays, I would kind of more consider your 4 as in like your crowd controlling support, and your 5 as your more do nothing support. If I may coin a phrase,
that's a scary phrase to coin.
Yeah, no. But yeah, like you still need a support that gives you control. Like it's not like 4s and 5s, whatever. Now you can just have 2 dazzles. Like that's not no, that's not the point. Point is that you like your control doesn't also need to be an initiator at level 1. So it's like Dark Willow, I think is a really good hero that kind of fits that 4 position because you can throw Bramble from like a year and a half away. But like she's not a 4 in a traditional sense where she's gonna rolling boulder across the mid lane and then Orb of Venom right click you down. But yeah, she has like some control, she can contribute early game, and she opens you up for having like a much more utility focused support that's not just fucking Lion or Shadow Shaman. But like Dark Willow and Bane would be a fucking fantastic combination. Not just because they're both broken or both absurdly good, but like the way that they combo is pretty cool. Like someone gets nightmared and then you put the little stun thing on him and then it just like stuns them out of it. You kill them. Yeah. Or like use channel Shadow Realm during the nightmare. You get a nice Bramble Maze placement, break them up with like Bedlam and shit. Like so much positioning is important on Dark Willow, and it's like these 2 heroes are mad good together, and they're also the 2 best supports in the patch, in my opinion. I'm sure that randomly, like, actually Elder Titan support is going to turn out to be the best hero of this patch. But for now, cursory understanding, it's put these 2 together and you're going to win a game, I think. Yeah,
the big thing about Bane with the Enfeeble talent, as much as like I've kind of been, crapping on it, it is an incredibly good talent, but the utility is different than I think people have been making it out to be. The utility is in that you have the ability to fight a core or in like a pick-off situation. Like, for instance, I had a game where I think it was a puck was running away from me in a fight, and I had Aether Lens because, of course, new Aether Lens is godly also. Like, Bane Aether Lens is like a must-have on this hero. But whatever core was running away from me, and I enfeebled him, nightmared him, and then just slapped him around. But that only happened because that was after a fight and I was able to chase him down. In an actual situation, that's not a feasible thing in a fight. You're fighting and your utility is still basically what Bane does, right? You are enfeebling their carry, you are maybe nightmaring a random support on the side, and then you're Fiend's gripping whatever priority target. That's your goal, be all end all. And then when things go down or when things go bad, you brain sap somebody. Bam, done. That's it. Yeah. Like you're not... doing some weird thing where you're like enfeebling the carry and then nightmaring somebody else and slapping them. Like that's still not worthless, but that's not the way you play this hero suddenly.
Yeah, I think a very key way that you should think about all of these right-click talents that are on, non-right clickers is nearly all of them aren't to make you think that this hero is now a right-clicker. They're just mechanics to keep the hero's right-click relevant like it is at level 1. Like at level 1, every hero's right-click is going to do something. And that like Puck's right click at level 1 is fucking strong. And then it's nothing. And then they get the level 50 talent and then it's strong again. Same thing for Bane. Like Bane's right click is like 60 damage at level 1. And then once you get level 10, when the game's 15 minutes in, you get Enfeeble Steel's damage. And then like during, a pickoff, your right click is still is once again actually contributing to you getting kills. It doesn't mean you're going to carry. It just means like, hey, it is worth doing something that is not sitting still waiting for your spells to come off cooldown. Yeah. But it's not like how you just build your hero.
And one of the other things that I think is a misconception that I've heard from a variety of different sources is that Enfeeble does not natively give you damage, right? People are talking about like, oh man, he's going to be such a good mid laner because you can steal their damage and then just like slap them around. It only gives you damage after level 10, and you generally don't level Enfeeble until level 10. Because you want to have max Nightmare and you want to have max Brain Sap and you want to have ult. So you don't really have space in your build to be investing in Enfeeble early unless, barring specific circumstances, of course. So Yeah, I mean, I'm
1 point enfeeble is good, but like you're not going to max it out before brain separate or nightmare.
And you don't have mana for it. That's the other big thing. Like he requires a ton of mana to get his whole kit off, so it's hard to
brain sap. Fucking nightmare. Those are expensive skills.
Yeah, his ult's pretty expensive too. It's very interesting. Seeing him as an off lane that has a lot more ingenuity potential, I think. But even then, it's mostly, you're playing a lane dominator who's really hard to zone. He has 63 base damage. You slap people around, you fight supports, and then eventually you scale into being a utility offlane core that has a BKB piercing disable and maybe has some counter and has some base damage, or rather some enfeeble damage to combat somebody or to fight whoever. So yeah. I'm thrilled with Bane, but I think people are freaking out a bit about oh man, core Bane, and it's not warranted at all. On him, I've been doing Aether Lens and Glimmer Cape. I haven't been going Blink Dagger like I used to because Aether Lens is so good. I've found that I rarely need Blink Dagger as long as I have an Aether Lens. And the Spirit Vessel is also pretty sick. Yeah. So let's see, other standout heroes.
I don't want to say so much standout heroes is a huge issue that I noticed. Minus armor fucking sucks.
Yeah? As in it's good really or it's bad? Yeah, it's bad.
That's what sucks means, dude.
Well, I thought you meant it sucks to play against.
No, it's very bad. Phantom Assassin, very bad hero. I played a game and I spectated a game of Skrunks, and I was immediately just how does Phantom Assassin feel? He was just garbage. What is wrong with this? And I was I don't know, dude. She just doesn't do anything now. And it's that minus armor is bad. And moreover, Desolator is horrendously bad. That's my favorite item. It's shit. It is the worst item in the game.
Is it that much worse after the one change?
Dude, okay, so think about, so not only did it lose an armor point, but so think about what they did to buildings. And this is true for basically everything. The armor value of them went up, but the amount of effective mitigation they have is the same. So what that means is taking, so let's say they doubled or they have the effectiveness of armor but doubled how much armor things have. So effectively the damage they take would be the same, but then if I'm taking 10 armor off of something that has 20 armor now instead of 10, the minus 10 armor is half as good. And it's not quite that insane, otherwise the hero would be deleted and have a 0% win rate. But I mean, Dota is so granular. So the fact that they make armor, 13% or 17% more, worse. More the number is 17% bigger for the same thing. Minus armor is gonna be 17% worse, and that's a critical number when you're playing Dota 2. And not only that, but Deso has one less minus armor now. So not only is it worse by mechanics, it's worse by default.
Yeah, that's rough.
By nerf,
I didn't think about that.
It's super, super bad. I got Deso on PA. I was okay, I one-shot a couple supports. And then 5 minutes later, I didn't do damage. I even got that talent for -4 armor corruption on my hero. It just didn't do anything. There was never that point as long as I get a crit, I'm set. It's just nothing. It's fucking bad.
That seems rough.
So it is, man. And and Agi is good enough to compensate. Yes, armor got lower or whatever. But Agi got better to compensate. So on heroes, it's the same more or less. And especially on Agi heroes, not only is it Agi heroes are gonna get Agi more, so it's more and more gonna be armor really didn't get changed if you're fighting enemy carries, because assuming they're an Agi carry or a hero that gets agility. So not only is the armor not as big a deal, but the enemy heroes are gonna have basically the same amount of armor or the same amount of mitigation that they did previously. So it's just a straight horrendous nerf against all minus armor stuff, period.
That's unfortunate. In my Slaughter game, Slaughter I felt super strong, by the way, just as a sidebar. I'm not going to go into it, but he feels really good. I went Blink Solar Crest, and I noticed what you're talking about. I didn't think too much about it in the moment, but there were times in fights where I was man, I have a Solar Crest and Corrosive Haze on a guy, and I'm not dealing that much damage. I expect to do more damage than this. So it did feel kind of awkward.
Slaughter, I imagine you don't feel quite as much because it's once they have -20, they're gonna go
Yeah.
down. Like the granularity of someone dying in 1.1 seconds instead of 1.3 seconds is not too noticeable. But like I'm playing PA and I throw a dagger and it crits and someone just goes to 90%. I'm like, what happened? I'm entitled to having fun when I do that. Like that's supposed to be the good times. This is the bad times now.
Yeah.
Chaos Knight's still holding strong though.
I'm glad. So before we continue the 7.07 stuff, we're going to take a really short, well, not really a break since obviously nothing stops. And
We're going to take a break.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Unicorn. Unicorn, of course, is our sponsor. And to get a little farther into it, because you may not know what they are, or at least in detail, Unicorn is everybody's premier esports outlet. You can earn tokens to use their services by playing your favorite games, and they have legal and completely free-to-play esports betting. And if you are in the UK or Australia, you can do real money betting because those countries actually have that thing, and unlike America. But someday. Unicorn also offers great Dota 2 content, including Gorgon, who, of course, he's been on the show plenty of times. Everybody knows Gorgon. He put out a whole lot of articles on 7.07 already. He did I was reading it, he did like a thorough side-by-side analysis of the talent changes.
Oh, yeah, all the talents? Yeah.
Somebody was tweeting about it. They were like, man, I really wish somebody would do this. And then Gorgon just sent them the article. And I was like, yes, thank you. Because it's so easy to forget like the granular changes to talents and whatnot. Yeah. So that was very helpful.
Well, I mean that's such a huge thing. Cause like you see these changes and you're like, okay, is this a buff or a nerf? Like what am I trading off for this? Or was it the same thing? Should I not be excited at all? Is this I just didn't remember?
Yeah. So there's plenty of Dota 2 stuff, and we're excited to be working with them because they're right up our alley and they've helped us tremendously. So check them out, Unicorn, yes. Unicorn.com, UNIKRN. And let's continue with 7.07 now, shall we?
Okay.
So
yes,
let's talk about hero reworks. So the big rework that I've noticed is Morphling so far. Have you seen any Morphling yet? He's also one of the few heroes that's not in Captain's Mode. In Captain's Mode, obviously 2 new heroes, Techies, and then Morphling is the only hero not in Captain's Mode.
Yeah, I saw him. I didn't really see any of the crazy bullshit happen. It was just like, oh, hey, sometimes he's a lion and he stuns and then he dies afterwards. He was like a support. Someone ran him as a support and it sucked, obviously.
I have not seen support Morphling yet, but core Morphling seems wild strong, I want to say.
Okay.
I don't know about OP. I think this is one of these things where it's going to take some adjusting to the hero changes and the rework, obviously. But it evened out the way that my perspective was that it evened out his power peaks, because previously Morphling was just like, hey, you farm, you get a Linken's, then you get an E-Blade, and you hit that big power spike right when you get E-Blade.
Yeah.
And you're hard to kill, so you're pretty middling for the rest of the game. And maybe, you waveform does decent damage early. Now he has a really interesting kind of like an early peak where he gets his ult and he can copy a hero that actually is good at the early game. For instance, in one of my games, the enemy had an aggro lane and then an Ursa, and Ursa tried to kill our Morphling. So Morphling just ulted the Ursa, and then man fought Ursa as Ursa and won. And it doesn't switch the items over, which is a problem in the late game, but in the early game, it's totally fine because people don't have that many consequential items, or if they do, they're pretty similar. Like everybody's going to have some kind of boots and like an Aki and stuff like that. So that's what really felt strong to me, was just the fact that this hero that used to be weak in the early game and have to run from fights can actually engage further in fights, depending on, of course, the enemy heroes and all that. So it felt strong. I don't want to say OP yet, but it definitely felt strong, and I think it's going to have a lot of interesting counterplay and strategy, especially because at level 20 you can get Morph his ult targeting allies, which will allow you to have some late game nonsense. Like Skrunk brought up in chat, he said he just played against a Morphling that had a Veno on his team, and the Morphling got his level 20 talent from Morph targets allies. He became Veno, and then they just had double wards and just high grounded with spamming double wards. And
this is too much.
It was just silly. Yeah. So I think there's gonna be some cool stuff like that. More often than not, it's probably gonna be really annoying, like double Tombstone or double Terrorblade ult, stuff like that. But I'm excited to see it. Like I like Morphling a lot.
You do retain meta when you like steal Terrorblade and then turn back, you're still in metamorphosis. Which is hilarious.
That's disgusting. That's honestly disgusting. And it doesn't steal ults, so that's an important facet, because initially I did not know that. I was like, man, this is OP. You can't steal
Black Hole, unfortunately. Yeah. You can just steal Metamorphosis and Plague Wards.
Yeah, my Morphling, he became a Faceless, and I was like, oh man, he's going to Chrono the Faceless, and he's going to do nothing. It's going to be hilarious. And I was like, oh wait, he doesn't have Chronosphere. But yeah, I'm very excited with new Morphling. I think it's going to be exciting to see how it all shakes out with him specifically. And also, like, the item build doesn't really change. It's just that the hero becomes a little more interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Other big reworks. What were the other big hero reworks?
I don't know, dude.
I know there were a bunch, but off the top of my head, I need to, like, I don't have them off the top of my head.
I mean,
I'm pulling it up.
I'll give it a look. See, buddy. So many fucking things. Oh my god, there's the Beastmaster.
Oh, Beastmaster. People are saying he's way OP.
His win rate is pretty good.
Yeah, so I have seen, I want to say, one Beastmaster so far. And Beastmaster is like my favorite offlaner, just as a rule of thumb. So I'm very excited to actually play this hero again, because he was kind of weak. But on top of the Necro,
gained a 10% win rate.
Wow,
this patch.
On top of the Necro rework, which is ostensibly a buff for basically all strength heroes that buy Necro Book, which is basically all heroes that buy Necro Book. The rework to his spirit animal summon is actually hilarious. I was obviously not adjusted to it, and just suddenly in my lane there was a purple satyr that was just throwing Hadoukens at me, and I was like, where did this come from? Who is HOD? I was like, oh no, it's just Beastmaster that hit level 7. It's pretty hilarious, honestly. I'm thrilled with this hero. We were even talking about running him as like a kind of weird utility, like carry-esque core in like the safe lane, and you run like an aggro lane, and then you farm him up, and then you just play this like super hyper aggressive Beastmaster. And like his potential as a pusher is still unmatched. He's definitely one of the best pushing heroes, just period, point blank, of all time.
Yeah,
I love it. I have only seen one game of it. I haven't played offlane. It's the only role I have not played yet this patch.
Yeah, same here. I'm afraid of it,
dude. It seems hard, which is good. I like that offlane is going back to like the poverty, skillful offlane. Yeah, it was hard. It's hard. Like, you have to be good at it. You can't just be like a Abaddon and just survive and be fine.
Yeah, like last patch I would just like pick Doom and then eat a jungle for 2 minutes and then pop out and Doom someone, and I'm like, I'm helping. Yeah. Great. No, you have to like hide in trees and shit. It's rough.
Yep. Yeah. And you have to deal with 3 supports instead of just 2, because there's no more roamers, or there's less roaming. It's exciting.
Damn, 3 supports? Shit.
3 supports. Yeah, 2 supports and a carry, excuse me.
Right.
What other hero reworks were there?
There's the Wraith King, which is obviously the best.
Let's talk about Wraith King, your favorite.
Broodmother is whatever. Yeah, so the Wraith King is, I don't know how good it is, but it's the best.
It's definitely funny.
It is my fucking favorite thing I've ever had in Dota 2, bar none. You get these little skeleton boys, and you just say, boys, go to town. Well, you don't even need to say it. They do it on their own. And you just have to, like, guide them like you're a fucking sheepdog, and they're your children, your child sheeps. And you need to keep, like, wraith firing blast things so they stop doing dumb shit and getting themselves killed. You're just your small idiot sons that you need to, like, guide in this world before they find an ancient stack and decide to all commit, like, ritual suicide as a team. And they're already undead. They're, like, predisposed. It sucks. But yeah, I mean, but they're like good. We were playing like a little in-house, and I had little skeletons. I was fighting, and then I summoned my skeletons, and then Marana threw an arrow at me, and one of my Secret Service bodyguard children died for their father, and I was like, "Thank you, my son. Your sacrifice will not be in vain." And then the rest of them just died to AOE damage, but they did their job. They did a little damage. It's good. It was really depressing because that game where I was using all of my skeletons, I had to skill reincarnation mana cost because everyone has mana break built into their heroes now. But man, if I could have got plus 60 damage on them, like those are some strong sons. I'm not sure about skilling the +4, or rather talenting for the +4 extra skeletons, because like you only get them when you kill a creep with a crit. And as you can imagine, that's not the most common occurrence once you hit like mid game. Like you're not really just farming creeps until your crits happen. You're like killing them in 3 shots, and that's not like I mean to get it. I would need to. It's +5, yeah. So it's like what 12.
You have to
so
kill
in order
12
to get
creeps
that,
in between fights.
I would not only kill 12. I would need to have my crit happen on 12 creeps before the creeps died to recharge them.
Ugh.
I need to kill them with a crit, and the crit kills them instantly.
You'd need to
so it's always going to be lowest RNG building up.
You'd need to like unequip or like backpack all your damage dealing items and just have all your attack speed on so that you could actually like build up your
dude, that's 6-slotted Wraith King. You have like a side pack of 3 moon shards for recharging your skeletons, and then you summon them all and they die to 1 anti-mage battle fury cleave.
Yeah, it definitely, there are a lot of changes in this that were very memey and were very interesting, and I don't know what to make of that.
They're good. Don't get me like they honestly were a big part of like my early game team fight domination. And I stomped this game. Like, it was until we lost, but we were doing great. We had Nameless playing a Bane mid that was very memey and not in a good way.
Nice.
We had like a single core team. Anyway, point being, Wraith King, I think he's good, especially because you get the reincarnation thing at level 20. Like I was playing an anti-mage against a Wraith King, and like, after, like 30 minutes, didn't really matter about the interaction, whereas before it'd be like 35 minutes. So, and that's like the critical timing, like that as soon as your carries are like 20, that's when the game is starting to get decided. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's a big deal, honestly. I'm a pretty big fan of this.
Okay, the next big hero rework I think we should talk about, maybe the last hero rework we should talk about is Tiny, because obviously you and Scrunk are big time Tiny players. What?
Horrendous.
Yeah, you think it's just terrible?
Dude, I tried to make a build on this boy. Guess how much armor I had at level like 15 after I had 3 items?
7.
0. I had
Still
0 armor. What items does this hero buy for armor besides a Silk Cuirass?
Oh boy, that's a question. I mean, I suppose unless his build changes.
What?
Build a Solar Crest. I don't know what to tell you. It sounds rough.
No, there's nothing. There's no item.
I have not even thought about this hero because I just cannot process all the changes, and I just don't want to. I've had them in my games and just killed them, and that's it. He
has no agility, and he gains no agility.
Yeah.
The only way he gains armor is through items that have stats on them. Guess how many agi items he builds?
None. Manta.
Wand. It's wand. Wand is the item. And then afterwards, okay, so like you need your boot item, which could be treads. Hey, there's an armor. And then you have like a wand, maybe. So like that combined, you have maybe 1.5 armor tops. And then you have like a blink and probably an Echo Saber because you have 0 attack speed also. We forgot to mention that part. Actually, -30 because we have an ultimate. So we start the game with -30 attack speed and 0 armor. When once we're level 6, we have 1 armor and negative attack speed. And so we get an Echo Saber. And then we're like 3 items. We have like our boot, our tread, our blink, our echo, and a wand and a TP, and then whatever other item slot. And then next is like we need to like rush an AC. And then we have and either we get the attack speed item first or the armor first. Either way, we're still fucking worthless. And then we get a BKB and like, great, okay, we're 5 items in and we have 15 armor. That's a support. That's not a core. And not only do we have no agi anymore, but craggy exterior is gone. Like they took all of our agi away, and then the ability that gave us armor, and then they're like, okay, but you'll still have fun. You'll grab trees. You don't have to buy ags anymore, even though it was shit in the first place.
What?
It's bad.
Like, it's weird. Like, it's bad and it's weird. What do you think needs to happen? Like, do you think something needs to be figured out? Like, oh man, maybe you do this now, or is it just that like the numbers are bad fundamentally?
I think it's a grand experiment to see what if a hero didn't have a stat. Also, we're going to re-emphasize that agi is the only thing that really gives you a lot of armor because we nerfed every plus armor item in the game also, just by the way. Casually. I think it's an experiment and it didn't work. I can tell you that. It's bad.
Okay.
You can't not have agi. You can't not have that. You can't not have armor. Like, the idea is that grow gives you, status resistance. And once you're level 18, it's like 40%, reduction on stuns and all that shit. But like, I'm gonna die. Like, not only do I not have the armor of Craggy, but I don't stun people with it either. I just like every part of my hero. Like, Tiny was already the squishiest motherfucker in existence. He had like 8,000 health, but that doesn't matter when you're just like stun locked and every right click takes half your health. Like is all your health away. Like Tiny just fucking dies. This is what he does. He goes in and he combos someone to 30% health and then he dies. And now he doesn't even have the ability to stun people in the middle of him dying.
Yikes.
I could keep talking about how fucking bad it is. Honestly.
No. I don't think I don't think we need to.
I want this to be good, but
it's really not.
Baby, it's not.
It's one of those things where I just like I hope I'm missing something, and it'll be revealed to me later that like, oh man, I think this is terrible, but it's actually good. Yeah, like you get a like
you just buy a chainmail, but then you have like 5 armor.
5's better than 0.
It's still shit though. Like no matter what, like even after you get your AC, you're still like, I need more armor. I just spent 5,000 gold on the most armor I can get in a single item, and I'm still fucked.
Yikes. All right. So
yeah.
Is there any other hero specific stuff before we move into the new mechanics and some other things like quickly?
No, I don't want to go over Brood. I don't think this.
Yeah, a lot of it's weird and needs to be figured out, and then we'll talk about it later. Okay. Let's talk about the. I want to talk about the mango thing because I've been feeding Reddit as one is prone to do on patch days. And
why would you do this?
Yeah, everybody's up in arms about this whole like, oh, there's 10 random heroes that you get a free mango if you pick them. I don't care about this at all. I think it's fine. People are up in arms. And I use people as a very general term because some people...
There's just like no reason for it to exist. It's just like such a weird arbitrary thing that has no benefits.
I think
it's like, I don't know, it's like if every time you woke up, someone like, poked you in the side. It's like, it's not the end of the world, but there's just no reason for it. Why am I just getting poked in the side randomly every time I queue into a game and like, oh, hey, someone's gonna...
But sometimes you're the one doing the poking.
Get a mango. That doesn't make it better.
So my whole point is that like since they changed Soul Ring, all it does is turn into a wand. And
I understand it's not a big deal. I'm just saying that there's no reason for it. Yeah. Similar to being poked in the side's not a big deal, but just like why don't I just not? Why did we decide for this to happen? It's like a conscious decision. Like this will make the game better. What?
I kind of like it just because it's a weird flavor and I don't mind it, but I like it in that it has interesting psychological effects on the pick screen and what you're going to choose. So, like, for instance, I just played a game and I picked Storm Spirit where I wouldn't have normally picked Storm Spirit because he was one of these highlighted heroes. And even just being highlighted, regardless of the free mango, I'm like, man, like, it draws my attention to heroes that I would not have played otherwise. And I think that's good in terms of, like, not directly inducing people to play more variety, but it has some effects on building people's heroes pools, potentially. And I don't think mango is game-breaking enough to be... Like, I think it's a worthy trade-off. Is like, yeah, sure, some people get a mango, and it's like, yeah, 1 regen and a potential to gain a bunch of mana, but they're going to be playing heroes they would not have played otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like, like that bad or going to change aspects of games or anything like that. I just like, and yeah, there are like possible benefits. Like obviously when I see it lighted up, I'm like, oh, hey, Lone Druid has a mango. Maybe I'll be more incentivized to pick Lone Druid. But also like, what the fuck? Why? Like what possessed them to be like this? I mean, like if it was just an unranked, that'd be like totally cool. And not that like unranked is this like sacred, fucking Fox only no items final destination thing. But like, I just like, can I just play a ranked Dota game without horseshit attached to it? Can I just play a game where there's not like, oh, these heroes get mangoes and if you random, you get a branch. Like, can I just play Dota 2? Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, one of the key arguments was that you already kind of have that element of randomness because of the bans being random. You can't selectively ban. So it just adds like an extra element of randomness. I'm kind of don't care that much about this concept. I just kind of have been very surprised with how outraged some people have decided to be. So it's been drawing my attention.
Kind of like if there is only a very like regardless of how much it actually bothers you, if you only mumble that you're not into it, nothing will change. You know, like if you don't want it to be there, like you have to raise a shitstorm. There's no other way to do it. And it's not a huge deal, but like, you know, if someone's poking me in the side every time I wake up, like if I just mumble, I don't like this, it's not going to change. And I'd prefer it did change. It's not a great amount of, you know, mental energy for me to like, it's like, hey, stop it louder. You know, I'll just like, yeah, I mean, I'll raise a shitstorm if it's going to make a change in, you know, the game that I like, regardless of how like crazy it is. I think the grievance is valid. And I think by being very upset about it, all that does is improve your chances of getting it changed. So, I mean, I can understand why people are, you know, very loud about it. And I can, you know, understand and respect that. Yeah, I don't think it's super crazy, and I don't mind it in my games too much. But, I mean, the perspective makes sense.
No, that's fair. I think that's a good way to think about it. What do you think? So they haven't released more finalized details about how the ranked season stuff is going to work in the specific little details. Presumably that's going to come out in 2 weeks once it like actually gets running. We come at it from vastly different perspectives. Are you excited? Do you think it's going to change anything for you? I mean, obviously you only play ranked, so it's not going to change too many things for you. But what is your kind of perspective on the new ranked system now that we've had some more time to think about it?
I'm going to be sidelined into, or rather, I'm either going to first pick to carry all of my support game or all of my calibration games, and someone else is going to want to do that because they don't want to lose their calibration games either. And then we're going to lose all of our games because we have like 3 carries in the same lane. And then I'm going to lose all my calibration games and then get calibrated 300 MMR lower than I started. Or I'm gonna get very lucky, or everything's gonna, I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'm very aware that it's not going to work in my favor.
Yeah,
I like it though. I think it's cool. It's great.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. It gives me, and we talked about this briefly during our patch note first impressions review, but it gives me some impetus to actually play ranked, and it takes a lot of the kind of ladder anxiety aspects out of it, or at least minimizes those. Because it is like a fleeting number. I think calibration inherently is going to have some drama associated with it, like both on a community-wide scale of people complaining and on an individual scale of like, I just had intentional feeders in 5 of my games or some crap like that. So it's going to be a scary time when we all are doing our calibration games. But community-wise, also, like, it's funny how these patches, obviously it's a good thing that they bring players back to the game, but you do get, like, the people that clearly have not played Dota for months, and they're just in a game.
My God, yeah.
And that is taxing to play with, to say the least. I had quite a few people that were like, yeah, I haven't played in months, and they didn't read patch notes, and they're just like, yeah, but there's a lot of new stuff, and I'm excited to play it. And I'm like, man, why didn't you, like, I don't know, read your spells or something? So that's always scary. But anyway, to get back to the point, ranked seasons, I'm very excited for as an overall, especially like any listener knows that I don't really play ranked. I was already gearing up to play ranked with a new patch, and this is way more incentive. I'm excited also to see what they bracket out the medals or whatever they're calling them, the emblems for. Some people are talking about like obviously neither of us are like 7K, 8K, but these 8K, the population is so small in like 7K plus. It's going to be interesting to see how they award emblems for, or whatever they end up calling them, to say like, if you get like top 10 NA, do you get like a special thing? Or is it just everybody that's above 7K is the same thing because you're just so high, you're just off the charts and there's just no point in making extra stuff? I'm very excited for that.
It's like the sliding scale of like how tall you're allowed to be on the internet. Like anyone below 7K MMR is bronze, and everyone above that is like silver. And then at 9K you get like gold, and then 10K is like diamond, and then 13 is platinum or masters.
Yeah. My interpretation also so far was that you're still going to have your numerical MMR personally. It's just going to be represented by the emblem that is always shown, or banner, I think they're calling it. It's just always going to be shown.
You'll get your banner or emblem or whatever at the end of the season or whatever the fuck, and then you'll the brackets are going to be based on MMR as far as I understand it, and then it's going to be just like represented by whatever the numbers.
Yeah, but regardless, I'm very interested in it. Also, I like it as it creates smaller goals, which is exciting, I think. From like a psychological aspect, as somebody that gets a lot of ranked anxiety, there's a much bigger psychological hurdle to get over if it's like, oh man, I'm at like the 5K or 4K or 3K break point, compared to just being like, oh, I'm a bronze 3 and I just lost the game and I went down to bronze 2, and that's bad, but I'll win 3 games and maybe I'll be back to bronze 4 again or something. It makes like incremental goals, whereas at the moment going from 4,200 to 4,350 is not that big a deal. Like it's just a small difference. But if it equates to different stars or a different color banner or whatever, I like that as a psychological tool to spur people to play Dota 2, basically.
Yeah, I definitely will say, like, when we hit 5K, I was like, oh man, 6K is next. But like, that's not,
that's not how it works.
There. That's not, you just like, okay, next is another fucking 1,000 MMR. Like, no, sir, that's not how it's going to happen.
Yeah. Man, I wonder how obviously we had to see how it all shakes out algorithm wise, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the ranked, how the recalibration and like whether you can jump up or down by a significant amount. Like I have my Smurf, for instance, that I was grinding, which now is pointless to have grinded. But it's going to be interesting, like that Smurf is at like, I forget, I think it's at like 3,600, 3,650 right now. It's going to be interesting if I can just play those calibration games and just boost up like 600 MMR and that way. I mean, now I don't need a Smurf though, so there's no point, but similarly, it's going to screw people that account.
It's not going to calibrate you not like more than 300 points at most. Right?
Yeah, I assume so.
Valve is not going to be like, well, they won 10 games. I think they must just be 1,000 MMR better than they were a day ago.
Yeah. I assume that, but it will be interesting to see, especially I think more consequentially on account buyers. It's going to be interesting to see like how much they calibrate down, or if there's like you said, if there's a minimum where it's like you can only possibly lose 500 points, let's say. So that's going to be interesting. And again, we'll talk more in a couple of weeks once this is all out.
If you lost 10 games straight, you would have lost 250 points anyway.
Yeah, but the calibration games are weighted more heavily than regular games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if the max you can lose is probably going to be more than 250, because if you did lose 10 games, if the calibrations are going to count more, it's probably going to count more than 10 games.
Yeah, it just depends like how much will it actually count. Like, will it be the equivalent of 750 or
maybe double?
Yeah, I think double's a safe bet.
That's going to be my guess. Thank you.
But yeah, okay. So anything else on
items, dude?
Items. Okay, good. Let's do items.
All right, Necrobook's great. I love it. I went Necrobook on Lycan and it was strong as shit. I went Necrobook on Dragonite and it was very cool.
I'm glad.
It's good, man. Necrobook is fucking baller. On Lycan especially, man. That was just like the stats on it are just so much better now. Not like a bunch of worthless ass int and then a mediocre amount of strength, and then you get like a little boy with a mana burn. Like, I don't fucking need a mana burn, dude. I need this slow.
Yeah,
I just be like, and I got like first item Necrobook, and then I would just ult and then charge at people, and then they would be slowed down for free, and then I just eat them.
Man, I
eat their little butts.
I know you hate what if questions, but I really wish, this is not even a question actually, it's just a comment. I really wish I could buy like a reverse stat Necrobook, because I like Necrobook on all these int heroes, but I don't want 20 strength on Invoker. I want 20 int. And if I could get 20 int and then some of whatever secondary thing, I would like that, because Necrobook is classically a int item for int heroes that is like a utility thing, and it's a cool, like you get summons and all that. And that's a little lore-y, but I like it as an int hero item, and it's just kind of a shame that it doesn't feel like Necrobook should be what it is, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense that this magical book is something used by strength heroes and like inaccessible to non-strength
can't wait
heroes.
For my Necrobook Sven.
Yeah. It just
got 20 strength. Why not? Because that'd be awful. But yeah, Necrobook's good. I'm a big fan of it. It's obviously part of why Beastmaster is so much better. Yeah, any strength hero that is like really, really dependent on strength and doesn't have a very obvious first item to get, especially on like, my Lycan, I really liked Echo Deso, but Deso is
Deso's dead
awful
item.
Now. Deso's just dead. So I'm like, all right, I'll just go Necro every time. And it's fun. It's good and fun. I love it. I don't know who else I get it on though.
Yeah, I'll probably get on like obviously Beastmaster. That's really the only hero I play.
Yeah,
I don't play a lot of strength heroes.
I like the Dragon Knight for it. I think that's good. Maybe Centaur. I don't know.
Centaur. Oh, that's a cool idea actually. Huh.
Yeah, give him a slow, easier to hit your stun. Maybe. I mean, you're gonna have a blink anyways, but yeah, just I don't know.
What about the other? What other?
Underlord, right? I was thinking
that's a
Underlord
good
would be good with it.
What other new heroes have you? I mean, excuse me, new items have you bought? Or at least changed items have you bought?
I've used the MKB a little bit, and it's like good. It's cheaper. It's nice. The cheaper Battle Fury on Anti-Mage is dumb broken. That's part of why he's like the second highest win rate hero in the game right now. And the fucking what is that called? The Nullifier I got on Lone Druid because it's one of 2+ damage items in the game. And I used it on a Wind Ranger because I was like, okay, I can't afford an MKB and the ability to spell all of these there was like a Pugna that was decrepifying stuff too. It's like, all right, I'll get the Nullifier and that'll deal with Windrunner's evasion too. So she just popped Windrun and I just nullified her. And then I just like ate her. And then she said, dumb item, broken. All right, this looks good. I'll buy this more. I like that reaction. It's got range, man. It's good. It's armor and damage. What a good life. Although it costs like a third of my bear's mana, so it's difficult to use. Like I had to manage my bear's mana. That's not something I'm used to.
What
kept like clarities to like force feed it like a bottle. Like, come on, you need the spells. It's rough.
What about the Meteor Hammer? Have you bought it yet? I have not bought it. I've seen a ton of it
and then lost.
And it's been very I'd say it's been lackluster in almost every situation I've seen it. But then again, I've not seen it on the heroes that excel with it. I've seen it on Purge was playing it on Disruptor and it felt very weak. And then people have been raving about it on Elder Titan and raving about it I was talking about building it on Kunkka, and Capitalist also mentioned that it'd be a good Kunkka item, so I'm excited to try that. And then there's some other hero that people were saying it was pretty cool on. Just watching it is so awkward because it takes so long. It's just disgustingly long. Also, Monkey King can use it from trees, but the stats are terrible on it for Monkey King.
That's cool.
But that is like a cheeky little play. It's just slow. It's just slow.
I saw Nature's Prophet use it to kill buildings. I was like, dude, just right click. Like, this is not an efficient use of your time or gold. Like, build a Deso. I know it's a dead item, but fuck.
Yeah,
it's not. Don't build
really
this on Prophet. Just right click buildings.
Have you seen Aeon Disc?
That's the main thing.
Have you seen Aeon Disc?
Yeah, I did see it, and it was very distressing to me. What did I see it on? Fuck. I played a game and I was against someone with an Aeon Disc. Let me see.
I played against a Dark Willow that had an Aeon Disc, and it was pretty cool.
A fucking Lesh, dude.
Yeah.
A Lesh.
That's pretty cool.
This was like, I think it was a support Lesh, but he was basically a core by the end of this game. He had a Kaya, Yule Scepter, and Aeon Disc, and he would just like run into the middle of fights, and then as soon as his Aeon Disc would proc at the end of it, he'd Yule's himself, and there was just damage everywhere. We couldn't avoid it. It was insane. It was like 5 seconds of invulnerability, and he was just having his ult and all his business proccing all around him. It was good.
And you said Nullifier. So what do you think about Nullifier? You talk about it on LD. The core issue is just you have to build a Sacred Relic. Like 3,800 gold is so hard to come by, even in the late game.
That's like when I see it, I'm just like, would I want this item more than a Radiance? You know, like a Radiance is a big investment, but like just the fact is, it's like the only plus damage item in the game. So that's just kind of what it is, and it's the Dispel. So, I mean, like it's good, and the active on it is very good. It's way better for melee than range.
Yeah,
I guess maybe better for range than melee. Either you want to be able to hit the person the second you use it, because it's not like spells. You know, it's not Cold Snap where like any instance of damage reapplies the 0.4 second slow. It's literally right clicks. So you need to like use it on them and then continually hit them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the mute is a really interesting aspect. I'm a little scared about mutes getting put into the game. It was a very rare thing. Like it was Doom and Disruptor with Ags.
Disruptor ulti. Yeah.
Now you have an item that hypothetically anybody could buy. The potential for it is kind of wild. But yeah, it is just it's very awkward and expensive. But again, like we pointed out many times, you don't get damage from items frequently anymore. So if you want a damage item, you build like a Daedalus or a Nullifier, and that's about it.
And a ton of damage talents are gone too. Like all the talents are a lot more like integral to, or rather like are are in relation to these skills that you have, not just like plus 40 damage. Like that's like Dragon Knight doesn't have plus 40 damage anymore. He just doesn't. It's gone. He has 40 strength at level 25, but plus 40 damage at 20, that's not a thing. And like, you know, heroes have 20 damage early on, but those are normally pretty bad talents. So like your damage either comes from your techies and you get 251 damage at level 25, or your stats. And you better hope you have good stats, or you're going to have to buy Nullifier, because Lone Druid has no stats, so you buy Nullifier.
It's God, it's such like a, God, what's the term? It's just so funny from
Hot Pockets.
It's just so funny from a perspective of a not Lone Druid player, that basically every change that ever happens in Dota screws Lone Druid. It's like, dude, all these incidental things.
Even the armor change destroyed him.
Oh,
okay,
man.
all my, like, the bear has shitty armor. Not only does my armor talent, it's 10 instead of 15 now, but armor is like fucking 30% worse. Not that much. It's 16, I think. Anyway, yeah. Sucks.
Oh, man. All right. The last new item that I want to talk about briefly is Kaya. I have seen it in quite a few games on quite a few different heroes. It seems like, to wrap it up as easily as possible for this item, without thinking too hard, all the heroes that built Aether Lens for the damage component built Kaya, and all the heroes that built Aether Lens for the range component still build Aether Lens. They build it even more so now with the buff to it. I've seen this item be incredibly strong. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets like a point or two of spell amp taken off of it. I saw it on a Zeus that was super good. Like I was talking about earlier, I've seen it on a lot of Dark Willows. I've seen it on Skywrath as well. It's really cool. And the mana loss, like the mana cost being reduced on your abilities, is really consequential for all the heroes that buy this. It's one of those things where at face value, it doesn't seem like a lot, right? If your 100 mana spell is now costing 90 mana, it doesn't feel like that much, but it really does become, it equates to a few extra spell casts, which is a make it or break it type situation in the late game.
Yeah.
Or even in the mid game.
I mean, yeah, we always say, like, Dota's, I mean, when I look at this item, I was like, okay, this doesn't look like that big a deal. Like, I in my head, I would rather have some, like, pure action.
Yeah, like a Veil.
Okay, now I force staff, and now I'm in a different place for this almost the same cost. But, I mean, Dota's a game of thresholds, and most people's spell combos leave someone at, you know, like 10 or 20% health. Yeah. And a Kaya can be that difference. And, I mean, spells also, like, normally you're 30 mana off for a spell, not 1,000. Yeah. So that's, I mean, yeah, I'm a little bit more into it, I will say. I can definitely see Zeus and Skywrath with this. Like, heroes that have non-obvious things that aren't just, you know, you have, like, a total affinity for a force staff.
Yeah.
Or you're like Bane and you don't really, it's not, you're not, you know, worried about doing a ton of damage. You're just worried about getting your spells off.
Yeah.
But if you are a support that's a lot more damage oriented, or like, I don't know, man, a fucking Sand King with this, like after you get Blink and then you just like, okay, I'll get Kaya next. And then fuck.
Yeah.
Like Blink Force Kaya? Oh, God, that's scary.
I like that it is a non-defensive transitionary mid-tier item for intelligence heroes, right? Because for strength heroes, for offlaners, for safe laners, and for supports, you have a lot of these items that are in that like 2,000 gold range that are like transitionary.
Armlets, Echo Saber,
drums,
all that business.
For staff, stuff like that. For mid laners and just for intelligence cores in particular, you didn't really have an item like that. Like you had a lot of utility items like Yule's Scepter that you'd buy in the middle, and Veil, I suppose, is probably the only item that comes to mind that's particularly offensive. But Kaya is a very direct transitionary item that gives you, let's see, 16 int, that's like 200 mana, and 10% spell amp, 10% cost reduction on everything, which equates to it's the equivalent of just giving you a bunch of mana. So I like that it is an item that I can say, hey, I'm playing Zeus, and I don't really want to build a Aether Lens. I don't really need, X, Y, or Z this game. I could just build a Kaya. It's only 1950 gold, and bam, right there, I have a item that is giving me instant rewards and instant return on investment. And I really like that as potential. And the build-up's not bad. Like, the most expensive part is 1,000 gold, and then you have a 450 Robo Magi and a 500 gold recipe. Like, it's very accessible.
All right.
I'm into it.
Last thing.
Okay, please.
Any hot takes on any heroes that people wouldn't really expect but are actually probably pretty good Kaya users?
I think Lena. People might expect that, but I think people also might kind of ignore it. I think Tinker is going to be a decent user for it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
He kind of
Sand
King.
Sand King is my only like. I mean, all I'm saying,
He's
hot
really
take
hot
isn't like
taking.
Something you wouldn't expect. Like Tinker, I think will use it. Like that's true, but I also knew that already. Probably.
Yeah, I even think Tinker. I think Tinker will use it. What about like?
I'm very scarcely thinking OD. I mean, OD is so slot starved already, but it does improve arcane orb damage.
Oh, that's
and
true.
also gives a bunch of int. So it's like 10% more. And what is it? This is mana pool to damage. So that's like, it's as though you skilled another point in arcane orb almost. Because it would be mana pool to damage 9% to 9.9%.
Yeah. What about like, it's weird because
And it would give you more int.
It's weird because it's an item that is the 10% additional damage is very alluring to a lot of heroes, and the easy cost if you're trying to snowball. Like we were talking about Shadow Fiends they get their level 10 talent and they just have hella spell damage.
Yeah, get like a veil.
Yeah, you get like a veil. This doesn't really replace that, unfortunately, because those heroes are going to be building veil instead because it's just better stats overall, and it's not rocket science to use a point and click ability that's a large AoE compared to having a passive.
Yeah, and it's what, 25% damage increase?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, here's the hot take.
Magic resist
not
reduction.
Really a hot take.
It's different.
Here's what you do. I think it's going to be cool on Invoker. I would like to have this on Invoker. My only problem with that is your Invoker's very slot starved because of his farm speed.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's good. I would like the slot because it helps his early game mana problems.
That's true.
He's super expensive to use abilities, and also like 10% spell amp is decently consequential on things like Sunstrike. That's dealing 575 pure damage, and then you add another 57.5 on that, 614, something like that. That's a lot of damage. And like Snowball, even just as a farming tool, and 16 int, that's good. That helps him a lot. I think I'd probably build this on Invoker as like a second item, kind of like people used to be building drums on him. Maybe
so would you go like Midas?
Have like
Midas Travel Kaya, Midas Travel Kaya Ags.
Midas Travel Kaya Ags. I'd probably go. I haven't been rushing. I haven't been rushing travels. Recently I've been doing builds where I get, you're starting with null, right? You start null, and then I usually get boots and a windlace and a wand, and then I get Midas. If I'm at a really good game, I'll just go straight Midas, but that usually doesn't happen if it's in like an actual competitive game.
Yeah. You very rarely have good games.
Yeah, and then you just go Aghanim Scepter, and then if I'm feeling really greedy and fighty, I'll get Blink after that, and then I'll buy BOT. I think now what I would do is essentially just toss it in right after Midas. Also, some people have been playing Treads Invoker again because you're delaying BOTs. Like a lot of people were delaying BOTs for a while. So you could do something like...
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck Invoker does.
Yeah, well, Invoker is very personalized. Like you have some people are like, you don't get any talents until 21. And then other people are like,
and then you have fucking Weehog, get a Vanguard and a Maelstrom or whatever
exactly.
the fuck.
So it's very personalized. But I will at least be toying around with Kaya builds on him. Almost more for the mana... obviously the int is nice, but for the mana cost reduction than for the actual 10% spell amp, because you have so many mana.
The one thing I would really caution about that is that kind of Invoker's main mana issue as far as regeneration is concerned is that he never gets a mana regen item. And the old world that used to be, your Sage's Masks and Voidstones and stuff. And now it's, you have a ton of int, but that's only modifying your base, 0.9 or whatever mana regen. So, unless you get something that's giving you another 1 mana regen, that's not going to help much.
Yeah, but you get more mana regen from ints now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That is only going to be modifying that 0.9. So, if you even had one additional mana regen, it would double your regen. Mm-hmm. But just adding a bunch of int to you is not helping your regen that much. Like Sven, even with I think I had almost 200 strength or something. I only had 4 health regen, whereas I'm playing anti-mage and I have 12 with the Battle Fury.
That's a good point. Yeah.
at level 6 or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder.
There's no mana regen. Like, there's very few early game mana regen items. It's not like, oh, I just pick up a casual thing. I mean, when I used to play Invoker, I would do a casual Sage's Mask very often.
Yeah, I usually just spam
there's
raindrops.
just like nothing really like sleek and sexy on that. Yeah, I mean, Raindrop will do it. And of course, like clarities are also affected by your int. So like a clarity will fill you up real fast. Like clarities are giving me like 6 mana on or 6 mana regen on a lot of heroes now. So I mean, yeah, you could just get by with. It's how much is Raindrop? Is it's 0.5 instead of like 0.6, whatever. That's still fine.
Yeah.
Or what did it used to be, 0.8? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't recall it.
Get your Bassi, you're set.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is. Yeah, it definitely needs some tooling around with, but Kaya
Have
is
a CM.
interesting. CM.
Yours sucks.
Yeah, I think CM's okay.
You think so? She was real bad last patch, and I don't think a lot changed.
I don't think she's good. I think she's pickable. I think she suffered before from you always had a roamer, and CM cannot zone somebody at all and wants to jungle a bit. So I think now CM fits in a little better in the laning phase in terms of being a support that has kill potential. But then outside of that, she pulls, she relies on the other support and the carry to zone, and then she jungles a bit and gets runes. I think she's in a better place than she was last patch, but I think she's still a little weak. I don't know if I'd build Kaya on her, though. There's too many other items.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I was just saying get Crystal Maiden to give your Invoker regen, because she gives flat mana, the same as she used to. The difference now is that flat mana is now able to be modified, which is very good. Yeah, I think CM sucks.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion about CM, in case you were wondering. Yeah.
Other than that,
yeah, I don't think we're gonna fight about it. I just wanted to let you know.
No other Kaya heroes really stand out. Like 16 int is good for damage too. Like that 16 damage adds up.
Yeah,
you could get it. I feel like I'm going to be buying it on int heroes that are aggressive if I'm having a bad game, if that makes sense. Like if I'm playing Quap and I'm just incapable of holding onto farm and like we've lost a bunch of fights and I want an item that's going to give me immediately some stuff, I will maybe get this item and say, all right, I just spent 2,000 gold, but I immediately got 16 more damage, I got 200 more mana, and 10% spell amp on my pure damage ult. And in an ideal game, I wouldn't do that. I would just get an Orchid or whatever. But it potentially could be pretty interesting as like oh boy, it's like a triage item. I think that has potential.
Yeah, I can see it. Maybe Lesh also.
Oh yeah, Lesh
he probably is more into Veil.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so the thing that I just thought of when you said 10% more spell amp on my pure damage ult is the difference between Veil is only magic damage and Kaya is just all of your spells or all of your abilities. So a hero that would definitely want the Kaya instead of Veil would be someone who has either pure damage or physical damage or something coming out of the buttons you press. So like that's what makes OD come to mind, because he has pure damage and Veil isn't going to modify that. And he even used to get Veil just because it was solid stats or whatever. And like Invoker has some pure damage and no, it's all pure damage from the spell. So I was thinking he just right clicks well with alacrity. And like Necro, fucking whatever. But yeah, like Leshrac is all magic damage. No, he has Edict. Edict's physical. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, he wants so many items that do things besides just increase your damage. And his damage is limited by whether or not he's fucking dead or not by just a burst combo. Anyway, fun item.
All right, we've gone for quite a while, and on top of our 7-hour episode before,
it's been enough.
I think we're about done. So we are officially rebranded as Fourth Spirit as of today. Well, depending on when you're listening to this, you can find us on Twitter at Fourth Spirit. If you are already following at .p_show, it is just converted, so you don't need to find us. But if you're not at Fourth Spirit, I of course am at Ursinity. Proud is at Proud Dota. I was going to say our show is, but I already said that. We have a website in the works. That will be fourthspirit.com. We're transitioning stuff over at the moment. We are still deciding on the Patreon stuff. We may be we're likely going to be converting the .p Patreon over, but so keep up with that. We're going to be retooling all the rewards and whatnot in the coming weeks. So you're going to get more Patreon shows and more stuff like that once it all gets done and decided. The in-houses are continuing as for the next 2 weeks. They will be finishing on the 15th. And so you can come to those Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, hosted by the very lovely, very good host, Grouty. And let's see, other things. Are there other things to do? We have a YouTube channel that is
There's
upcoming,
literally nothing.
but we have to switch that because you can't convert YouTube channels.
Not a single fucking thing.
So yeah, thanks for sponsoring us, Unicorn, and thanks for listening, everybody, and enjoy 7.07. If you've lost...
And remember, what do they have to remember this?
It's been all Archaea, and maybe next time it'll be yours.